What is up, guys, and welcome back to Marijuana SA Weekly episode 67 this week. I absolutely butchered that last week. And thanks guys for joining in tonight. We have quite an exciting topic and something that we've been waiting a long time to go over with you guys, and we have learned so much in the last couple of weeks and months. So tonight, to kill the suspense and whatnot, it's LED grow lights, and more specifically a buyer's guide to LED grow lights. So thanks for joining us. Dean is also here. He's going to be giving most of the deets on basically all the details on the lighting. I'm just going to ramble on a bit about the benefits.
Yeah, but I'm also really excited about this segment and this part of the show or this episode, because we've obviously been involved in the podcast and more importantly the store for quite a long time now, and over that period of time we've learned a lot about LED grow lights, and we've had the opportunity to sample and try our broad range of different LED grow lights, and also to test them with some really awesome testing equipment. And it's really broadened my knowledge, and I'm sure that a lot of guys who are wanting to get involved in growing their own cannabis are wondering, what's going to be the best for me, HPS, CMH, LED. And we're hoping that this show tonight can just help you guys make the correct decision about what you're gonna need, and in the end, that what's going to be right for you.
Exactly. It's still like an extremely difficult process. So if we help you simplify the process at all tonight, maybe just remember to give the video a thumbs up and share it with anyone that's in the process of buying a LED grow light. This may save them a lot of money in the long run and a lot of hardship and pain. So without further ado, I'm going to kick off with the benefits of LED grow lights. So guys, in brief, LED grow lights, it's not new anymore. It's old school. People have been growing under LED now for 5-6 years, and the technology level has changed within them. So there's Dean's going to go into all the different types of LEDs, but basically across the board, no matter which LED grow light you're going to be going for, you're going to get massive power savings. Is probably the biggest one. There's quite a complicated way of measuring it, with noting the less power but more efficient, and that's sort of where LEDs are coming in. And that's the reason why governments have taken to this, and they've stopped selling incandescent bulbs, because they know LED bulbs, tax-free, they're good for the environment, they're way more efficient.
All the street lamps in my area are now LED.
Exactly. It's
like all the new street lamps.
It's completely going LED that way, and the technology is there to be able to have made good grow lights. And there's a lot of big growers that are growing purely under LED for the benefits. I mean, it's cooler for your tent. It's more efficient. They are they're safer. There's no chance of them exploding. They just all round. I suppose the downside is they seem more expensive as an initial boost, but as Dean will probably explain, they're not. It's not as simple as that. So we only really promote LEDs. Of course, we're not shitting on HPS. There's still a place and time and place for them. But let's basically break down.
Just for the fairness of the argument, we do also sell a Lux unit, a commercial light fixture on the website as well. So we're not, just 100,000% LED diehard. But it's definitely something we're super confident about, and in my eye rate, definitely in the next 5 years where the market is going to be pointing towards, and I think more so even in the South African landscape of it all, and just with how irregular our power supply is here in South Africa, which is unique to anywhere else.
100%.
Or maybe not anywhere else.
It's unique. It feels like it's unique to us. Feels like it's everyone in the world.
Happens.
So I mean, that's the complicated part. So I mean, Dean, if you were to explain, Dean's our master grower, and he basically handles a lot of the big wig clients, and he's done the spiel 100 times, explaining to the clients the benefits of LEDs, and we also man the general day-to-day line, and we get a lot of questions on types of chips and all of this. And so, Dean, what do you normally say when people give the broad question which light should I choose?
So a lot of the time, we'll have what's unique about working in sort of the recently decriminalized cannabis industry within South Africa is that a lot of people have not generally grown cannabis before. It's going to be their first time that they've ever grown. And what I find also really unique about this being in a sort of a sales position in an industry like this is you have a lot of people that have maybe never even grown a plant before, and now they're wanting to so basically you're dealing with someone who maybe doesn't have a lot of experience, and all of the information that's out there can seem incredibly overwhelming. I mean, you've got so much different techniques, so much different people telling you what to do. So
I've seen some lights for like 30,000 rand and 50,000 rand, and they look like the size of a shoebox.
Yeah, exactly. And you'd wonder, why would something cost that much? So basically, when I'm explaining to someone about what kind of LED that you're going to need to grow, you have to sort of start off at the back end and say, how much do you want to produce? Because everyone wants to cut out the middleman and produce their own cannabis. So if I want to produce 50 grams a month, how much light power would I need? So that's sort of the first step, and then you have to look at LEDs as a light in themselves. And as Andy said at the beginning of the show, LEDs are becoming ever more popular, and the technology is proven that an LED can put out a large amount of output power for a very small actual draw. And we saw this very recently with our own eyes. We imported an awesome quantum meter, which is basically a light power reading meter. It reads U-moles and we put our LEDs to the test, and we saw some absolutely amazing results. On our best LED that we have on the website, the E500, we saw at 30 centimeters a U-mole of 1,200 plus, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, like our massive power readings across the board, and that's so that ties back to that critical component of, it's not about gone are the days of the 1 gram per watt calculation. I mean, that's so broad, guys. It's not. It's only
too.
What do you call it? It's like it's just an off the cuff like estimation. Like a liter of petrol will get you plus minus this many Ks. It's like saying that, but it's not. It depends what car you're driving. And it's the same with growing. It's an old wives' tale
now, unfortunately, because you can have an LED that draws maybe 170 watts, but it could pull an equivalent of maybe 400 grams because of how much lumens is being put out for it. So with LED, unfortunately, it's upset it completely, and you can't just say this is how many watts I'm pulling and this is how many grams I'm getting out. And that's sort of the first sort of buyer's guide that I'd like to put out into someone who's looking at an LED grow light. Unfortunately, a lot of lights are imported. There are some local manufacturers that are doing some really good work, but the market has a lot of different options available, and some options are advertised as, say, a 900 watt or a 2000 watt, and unfortunately it's not nearly going to, that's sort of sold as maybe a perceived output. So you'll have a unit marked as 2000 watts, but it's actually only drawing, say, 300 watts from the wall. So the first thing I'd suggest you do is you look into the different kinds of LED technology, and you look into the different kinds of units that are available. And the two main kinds of units at the moment are an SMD LED, and that's basically a small diode that is soldered onto a board, and it's often made up of multiple different small diodes. So you'll see an LED with lots of different small lights on it. You get those in blue purple, which are popular, and then you get that in a 3500 Kelvin or a 4000 Kelvin, which is a more daylight kind of color, which are also popular as well. And then on the other end you have the other exciting technology, which are the cobs, and that's basically lots of tiny minute LEDs that are all built into one sort of big board looking LED like this. And that gives you sort of a very powerful, very concentrated chip that puts out a very good efficiency ratio, as much as sort of 30% more. I think Andy's actually grabbing us something to have a look at.
Oh my God, sorry about that, guys. I just wanted to grab a chip, and then I dropped 400 boxes of metal. Okay, so sorry about the noise. That's gonna hurt the listeners.
So there we can see it perfectly. So yeah, that's actually a really nice example. You can see there's the cob. That's a big sort of square LED, and these are really, really exciting LEDs. We have them on the website already built. And then for the DIY enthusiast, we've got these, which are solderless chips, which you can put onto a heatsink and plug on a fan yourself if you have the skills to build your own light. So understanding the different kinds of LEDs is definitely going to help you a lot of the way to make the right decision. And then on top of that, to understand what powers an LED, because an LED isn't just run by itself. LEDs work on 12 volts DC, which is it can't just take direct power from the wall. It needs to run through a blanking.
A driver. Even these, though, just to know, because these are driverless, but they do run straight to the wall. But that's basically your tiny little baby driver, and I mean it's not
built onto
it. Yeah, it's called DOB there's the lingo in the LED. Can you driver on board? So you got the chip on board, the COB, DOB, 85 SMD LED. It's like quite a lot of lingo you need to get your head around.
It is, you see what I mean, and that just points to it even more, just how confusing this space that we're operating in actually is. So, I think understanding a little bit of that kind of technology, understanding that a lot of the LEDs that I've just mentioned will have a driver powering them, and that driver is a very important component, because that driver, the quality of the driver is going to affect the quality of your output. The quality of your LEDs is going to affect the quality of your output, and the quality of both components is going to affect the longevity of your light. So make sure when purchase, the efficiency as well. If it's not good quality, it will. All lights have something called a CRI rating, which is a color rendering index rating, and that's basically a rating that's going to that stipulates how close to the actual color it is putting out. And the higher the rating, the better the higher the CRI rating, sort of the more true the color is to those specific colors. And that's important when you're trying to obviously get down to the level of understanding what's going to give me something decent and what's going to not put out the correct kind of colors or the correct kind of output or the correct strength for my light.
Consistent, yeah.
So, yeah, exactly. So I mean, the best way around this is to obviously, maybe do your research yourself, listen to shows like we're doing tonight, and then to speak to people who are reliable and have a good reputation to supply quality results. And then on top of that all, once you've sort of decided on an LED or maybe a company to go with that's going to supply your LEDs, it's good to understand sort of how much light am I going to need, and this is where the efficiency factor of the LED comes in, because you can purchase, unfortunately they do for the time being go for seemingly more expensive, so a larger outlay at the beginning for a light that, if it's a quality light, is going to draw less from the wall and put out a larger amount of power than say an HID light, an HPS or something like that. So in the long run you'll get lower draw, nice big yields, and a time saving on electricity. And some people might say, okay, cool, now I'll just spend the money now. But when you're growing over a period of 3-5 years and you're running lights for 18 hours a day, that power really can be something that needs to be thought about.
Yeah, massive savings.
Yeah, and I mean, over the years of me growing, I've just seen my power bill go up and up and up and up and up, and it got to a point where I either go bankrupt growing with HID, and don't have any weed to smoke for myself, or switch to LED, put out the same amount of harvest for myself. Did cost me much more to invest into, but now I can reduce my power bill. I can also have a solution in case there is sort of a power outage, because the lights are drawing less, so you'd be able to power these lights for a smaller value with, say, maybe an inverter or something like that, like we spoke about in episode 64, if I'm not mistaken. And yeah, it just gives you, and also
And
if you care about the environment.
cooling.
Yeah, if you care about the environment, and then also it's your cooling costs are low, because in the winter cold, if you are in a very cold area, might be a little bit of an issue, but in the summer you're not dealing with an incredibly hot unit that's pumping out a huge amount of heat, so you're able to regulate your temperatures for cheaper. And I mean, one of the biggest draws that I've ever seen is an air card. They pull amps from the wall, so if you if you've got an HID, some of my friends who have double-ended fixtures in a 2.4 meter tent say you cannot get away without an without an aircon in the middle of the summer, just because of how hot it is. So that is a consideration that you have to take into account as well. Now there is one downside, which I will admit, and that's that the LEDs some of the time don't get the same spread area, so they're very direct where the light is, so maybe the cutoff of the square meterage might be a little bit smaller, but this can be mitigated by sort of growing in the correct grow space for you. If you need a 0.8 grow tent and you only consume 2 plants worth, or maybe a 1.2 grow tent, so don't overdo your space for how many plants you need to grow. And build on it constantly. If you have a quality component, you can always add more as you go. It's a hobby and a passion for a lot of people, and I know the equipment excites a lot of people as much as it does us.
That's a critical point. So it's going.
Yeah, and on a closing note.
Oh, sorry.
No, sorry. I was just going to say, on a closing note, I was, when Andy and I first started working together with Marijuana SA, I was still on the fence between the two. And over the past 2 years of growing, I've really seen amazing results. And I would suggest that people who are maybe diehards do have a little bit of a harder look at the LED sphere, because it's very exciting and the technology is cutting edge. And, I think it's in the next sort of 3 to 5 years we're going to see some crazy LEDs coming to market.
Yeah, and I think it's going to be purely LED at some point. 10 years, I think HPS will just be. I think it'll be just a thing of the past. I think that's where I would put my money if I was to be a gambling man and whatnot. But so that's just, I suppose, to sum up. I mean, it's. If you're in the market for buying an LED, look at don't let the wall draw scare you away. Just because it's a low wall draw doesn't mean it's a shit light. It just means it's more efficient. Try and get PAR readings to see how much the usable spectrum of the light is actually taken in by the plant. Try and get even something like your lumens per watt's a good reading at a certain distance, your PAR per watt, and then you can also work out your rands per lumens through those calculations. So have a look at all of those factors, and then also just today's day and age, it's like 80% of shit's like anecdotal evidence. So I mean, go through our YouTube channel. We don't have all the stats on all of our lights down to the T. We've got it as best as we can, and we use our professional judgment. But have a look. We've grown under. We can proudly say we've grown under every single light on our site, even the E28s. We've harvested. We've done the proof is in the pudding, and there's been no shy of disappointment with yields, with bud density, cooling, energy efficiency. I'm finding mold is extremely rare now that it's in a nice cool environment. There's no condensation. It's at the right temperature. So that if I was a buyer, those are the things I would be on the lookout for. And do your research. Get reliable. And
also,
sources.
just on another note, on top of all of this, I saw I only skimmed over, so I didn't read the inner workings. But California is looking to make a move towards only LED technology and sort of the highest medical grade farms, so you get like the highest medical certification, and that's apparently due to fear of bulbs popping, and if a bulb does become compromised, an HID unit, it can affect a whole harvest and would make it lose its highest medical grade certification. So I mean, if that's the case, there's going to be more and more people looking towards LED, and with more research going into LED and the sort of the global movement towards, you know, decriminalization and legalization, I think we're going to see some really even more exciting stuff coming up. I mean, even since I first saw my first LED like 8 years ago, they look alien now compared to them. Like our E500 carb looks like the sun, you know. Look, they really look cool as well. So if you care about the aesthetics, there's that as well. They look great.
100%.
I personally like the look of the quantum board. They're like basic, simple, driver on top.
I'm
This
still
does the job.
a portrayer of the classic E900. You know, I'm living in the.
Yeah,
I'm the the HPS lover of LEDs. You know, like sticking to the first LEDs I knew, and I was like, nah, these will work forever. But I'm gonna make the move soon.
But they work amazing. That's the E900, our best-selling light on the website. The E500 and the QTM range just be behind that. So you know, there's an even competition between both blue, purple. A lot of the guys who don't care about photos will go blue, purple. You know, because they put out raw power. And it's a really exciting space. And you know, if anyone's keen to chat or has any exciting information about LEDs or shares our passion or maybe does not like them at all, we're always keen to hear about your guys' suggestions. There's been some really cool conversations on some of the videos recently, and it inspires us to keep bringing you guys exciting content.
Yeah, please guys, let's say if you're a fan of LEDs and you like the video, maybe just give it a little thumbs up below. If you're a anti-LED, give it a dislike. Show us that you're you know, hating on the LEDs, or we're keen, and then let's start some rampant arguments in the comments below. Thanks guys so much for the videos, the support on the videos throughout the week, and checking out this one and spending your Sunday night you know, listening to a ramble. Hopefully this helps, and yeah, thanks for watching guys. Till next week, peace.
Cool. Cheers guys. Peace.